Hello, welcome to this session on customer understanding. In the last couple of weeks, you have looked at the business model canvas and the wonderful video by Vijay Taleleji, where a large part of the business model canvas concerns the customer. What we are going to do now is to deepen our understanding of who exactly our customer is and how to formulate our processes, our marketing, our product development, keeping in mind who that particular customer is. This probably is the most important aspect of any startup, to be able to define exactly who your customer is and what job you're doing for that particular customer. Today, we'll look at a concept called job to be done, something that did not even exist 10 years ago. So this is a different way of looking at your market, looking at your customer, looking at your business. So let's get into it. So the title of my talk is Customers or Jobs, Deciphering Your Market. Before we get into the subject matter, just let you know a bit about myself. So I'm a recovering academic. For about more than 30 years, I've been a professor, taught on 3 different continents. Started my career in the US at the University of Illinois, where I got my PhD from, taught there for a while. Then I taught at Arizona State University, National University of Singapore, University of South Carolina, and the University of Macau. In terms of expertise, I focus on corporate culture, customer experience, which has become the holy grail of all business right now, branding, employee engagement, and startups. My current focus is on the hospitality industry, and within that, the casino industry. I have clients on 5 continents, and my massive transformative purpose, or MTP, is partnering positive transformation around the globe. That is, in every consulting job that I undertake, I want to make sure that the life of customers and employees is better as a result of my engagement with that particular client. So that's me in a nutshell, by the way. So what is this notion of job to be done? According to Clay Christensen, who is the inventor of the whole concept of jobs to be done, we don't really buy products. We hire products. And we hire products, as consumers, we hire products because there is a certain job that we want to get done, okay? Like Ted Levitt said several decades ago, the customer is not looking for a quarter-inch drill. The customer is looking for a quarter-inch hole. It is critical to understand exactly what job our product does for the customer, in what context, and the degree to which that job is performed according to the customer's expectations. So when we hire a particular product to do a job, let's say I'm using dandruff shampoo to get rid of dandruff in my hair. If it does the job, I'll continue using the product. If it doesn't do the job well, I will fire that particular product and then look for another new product. Now, when we say product over here, it is used as a shorthand for any solution that companies can sell. And in terms of solutions, there can be candidates that go beyond the offerings from companies, all right? So if I'm hungry and I want a meal, then I could order food, and have it delivered to me. I could go and eat at a restaurant, or I could create a homemade solution and cook for myself. So each of these are basically candidates that I could consider hiring. So the JTBD, job to be done, can be looked upon as a lens through which you visualize your product, your market, the dynamics within the market. The advantage of which is that you can effectively define your market, make your marketing more focused, and make your innovations more predictable. So let's look at this. The unit of analysis in this case is no longer the customer or the product. It is the job, and the job determines the matrix by which the customer evaluates your product. Markets are not defined around products, they are defined as groups of people trying to get a job done. Customers are not buyers, they are job executors. They hire a particular product to do a job, they execute that particular job using your product. In the past, more emphasis was paid on trying to understand the customer, not really trying to understand the needs of the customer. We spent a lot of time trying to understand the demographics, the psychographics, all kinds of behavioral traits about a customer. Over here, we are squarely focusing on customer needs. They are not vague. They are not latent. They form the matrix around which customers measure success when getting a job done. And competitors are not similar companies. Of course, they could be. A competitor could be any solution that is being used to get the job done. So if you want cleaner teeth, you could use any of the fluoride toothpastes. You could use a charcoal toothpaste. You could use a neem stem, or you could use coal. So you could do any of those things to get that particular job done, and each of them within this context becomes a competitor. Customer segments, typically we base them on demographics, psychographics, the benefits sought. Over here, we are looking at what the needs are, what the jobs to be done are, and then classify customers accordingly. To drive home the point, Clay Christensen uses an example of a company that was trying to sell condos to people who wanted to basically reduce the size of their home. Okay, so these are known as the downsizers. And they thought that people who are retired or people who are from a single family home where now the child has left, they would have this need to downsize. And that was the targeted segment. This was a luxury condo development. They did not spare any expense in terms of employing the top salespeople. A lot of money was spent on advertising. And what they found was, despite the fact that a lot of people came and visited the condos, took a look at it, inspected them, not many people actually bought the condos. So then the company did some focus groups and asked people about the different aspects, like, oh, how are the toilets? How are the windows? Some people said, oh, yeah, it would be nice to have bay windows. So they spent a lot of money getting the bay windows into that particular condo development, and yet sales did not pick up. Now, the reason sales did not pick up was nothing was wrong with the condos per se. But in terms of the job to be done, what the retirees and what the divorced single parents were looking for was to preserve their memories and yet downsize. And a key metaphor in terms of preserving the memories was the dining table, because so much activity happens around the dining table. So many fun moments and not so fun moments, but moments that are significant to the family have happened around the dining table. So the one reason people are not buying was they're saying, okay, what am I going to do with my furniture? So what the company then did was said, we'll help you move your furniture. Not only that, we'll give you 2 years of free storage where you can actually store your belongings. And we'll give you a sorting room where you can sort out the materials that are needed and not needed, the furniture, the different trinkets, whatever else you have, at your own pace so that it is not emotionally draining upon you. And that particular solution worked like a charm. So in this case, the competitors were not other condo developers. The competitors were the inertia of the customers in wanting to move in. And there was a lot of resistance on the part of the customers to basically hire condo as a solution for their downsizing.
Hi, my name's Clay Christensen. I'm a professor at the Harvard Business School. I brought with me a set of puzzles, all related to innovation. We decided that the way we teach marketing is at the core of what makes motivation difficult to achieve. The most helpful way we've thought of it so far is that we actually hire products to do things for us. And understanding what job we have to do in our lives for which we would hire a product is really the key to cracking this problem of motivating customers to buy what we're offering. So I wanted just to tell you a story about a project we did for one of the big fast food restaurants. They were trying to goose up the sales of their milkshakes. They had just studied this problem up the gazoo. They brought in customers who fit the profile of the quintessential milkshake consumer. And they'd give them samples and ask, could you tell us how we can improve our milkshakes so you'd buy more of them? Do you want it chocolatey or cheaper, chunky or chewier? They get very clear feedback. They would then improve the milkshake on those dimensions, and it had no impact on sales or profits whatsoever. So one of our colleagues went in with a different question on his mind, and that was, I wonder what job arises in people's lives that cause them to come to this restaurant to hire a milkshake. So we stood in a restaurant for 18 hours one day and just took very careful data. What time did they buy these milkshakes? What were they wearing? Were they alone? Did they buy other food with it? Did they eat it in the restaurant or drive off with it? It turned out that nearly half of the milkshakes were sold before 8 o'clock in the morning. The people who bought them were always alone. It was the only thing they bought, and they all got in the car and drove off with it. So to figure out what job they were trying to hire it to do, we came back the next day and stood outside the restaurant so we could confront these folks as they left, milkshake in hand. And in language that they could understand, we essentially asked, excuse me, please, but I got to sort this puzzle out. What job were you trying to do for yourself that caused you to come here and hire that milkshake? And they'd struggle to answer, so we'd then help them by asking other questions like, well, think about the last time you were in the same situation, needing to get the same job done, but you didn't come here to hire a milkshake. What did you hire? And then as we put all of their answers together, it became clear that they all had the same job to do in the morning, and that is they had a long and boring drive to work. And they just needed something to do while they drove to keep the commute interesting. One hand had to be on the wheel, but somebody had given them another hand and there wasn't anything in it. And they just needed something to do while they drove. They weren't hungry yet, but they knew they'd be hungry by 10 o'clock. So they also wanted something that would just pull down there and stay for their morning. Good question. What do I hire when I do this job? You know, I've never framed the question that way before, but last Friday I hired a banana to do the job. Take my word for it, never hire bananas. They're gone in 3 minutes, you're hungry by 7:30. If you promise not to tell my wife, I probably hire donuts twice a week, but they don't do it well either. They're gone fast, they crumb all over my clothes, they get my fingers gooey. Sometimes I hire bagels, but as you know, they're so dry and tasteless. Then I have to steer the car with my knees while I'm putting jam on them, and then if the phone rings, we got a crisis. I remember I hired a Snickers bar once, but I felt so guilty I've never hired Snickers again. Let me tell you, when I come here and hire this milkshake, it is so viscous that it easily takes me 20 minutes to suck it up that thin little straw. Who cares what the ingredients are? I don't. All I know is I'm full all morning and it fits right here in my cup holder. Well, it turns out that the milkshake does the job better than any of the competitors, which in the customer's minds are not Burger King milkshakes, but it's bananas, donuts, bagels, Snickers bars, coffee, and so on. But I hope you can see how, if you understand the job, how to improve the product becomes just obvious.
So exactly what is the job to be done? So job is shorthand for what an individual really seeks to accomplish in a given circumstance. When somebody comes into a casino to play, what job they want to be done? Not an easy question to answer. And the answer may be different for different groups of customers. So this goal usually involves more than a straightforward task. Okay? We are, as a society, moving away from things and towards experience to add meaning to our lives. So in terms of most jobs to be done, be it business to business or business to consumer market, you are trying to create an experience. For example, what the condo buyers in Christensen's article sought was to transition into a new life. Special circumstances were downsizing. Now that is quite different from a person buying his or her first home. So suddenly the way you define competition is different. The way you define your consumer is different. The way you define the job to be done is different. So let's look at the circumstances. Many times, the circumstances are more important than the customer characteristics, product attributes, new technologies, or trends. So going back to the condo example, before they understood the job to be done, they're focusing on trying to make the condo better, focusing on the basement, focusing on the windows and whatnot. But then when they saw it through the eyes of the customer circumstances, then the whole game changes. Now condos are competing not against new condos, but against the idea of not moving at all. Moving is stressful. Anybody who has done that, particularly if you lived in a house for 20, 30 years, then to give away or get rid of most of your stuff, to move into a smaller place, there's a lot of psychological resistance there. What am I going to do with my belongings? What am I going to do with my favorite objects that I've had for many years? So in this particular case, after the company understood the job to be done, they started to create certain avenues whereby the job could be done with minimal misery on the part of the homeowner. So what makes an innovation successful? Many times, good innovations solve problems that earlier had inadequate solutions or no solutions at all. Take the case of Uber. The closest relative was a taxi cab, but then you couldn't get a taxi anywhere at a moment's notice. And you're performing it at a high level of affordability. So going back to the assured framework of Dr. Marshallker. So prospective condo owners were looking for simpler life without the hassle of home ownership. However, they had to endure the stress of selling their current home. You had to go through exhausting choices about what to keep. I've moved to many different countries and I know how painful that is. I keep procrastinating that till I finally have no room for procrastination. So they could stay where they were, even though that would become increasingly an imperfect solution. So when they were given a third option, saying that, you can store your belongings, we'll give you a sorting room, then suddenly the target market individuals became customers. Now, in any job to be done, you need to bear in mind that jobs are never simply about function. There are certain social dimensions to it. What will people think of it? Think of me? How will I come across? And there are emotional dimensions. How would I feel hiring this particular product to do a particular job? Okay. So going back to the condo example, creating space for a dining room table reduced a very real anxiety that people had. They could take the table home to their new home, or they could leave it where, give it to somebody, sell it. And then given 2 years of storage and a sorting room on the premises of the condo, allowed older people to work at their own pace, work through their emotions, which are very charged emotions, in deciding what to keep, what to discard. And this resulted in reducing their stress in terms of getting the job done. Now, bulk of our discussion will be on B2C kinds of products, but this applies equally to B2B settings. Except that in B2B settings, usually there's more than one person involved in hiring the product. Many times the person who is the main decision maker is not the job executor. That person does not actually carry out that particular job for which the product is being hired. And therefore, you have to look at the entire buying center and try to assess what job the product does for each individual involved in the buying center. Earlier, we said that we have to move from just the job more towards experiences. So understanding the job to be done is only the first step that people, people would be willing to pay a price, but would they be able to pay a premium price, willing to pay that? Therefore, we have to create the right set of experiences. And these experiences have a lot to do with who your target customer is. Integrate those particular experiences in the company's processes. So what I have found through years of consulting is that the customer journey mapping is one of the best ways in which to create positive, fulfilling experiences for the customer. We won't get deep into customer journey mapping over here. I'll just explain to you with one example. So here's the customer journey for a person who wants to basically change their mobile provider. So jumping Jamie, she finds that, hey, Kai, I'm paying probably too much for my mobile phone with my current provider. I wonder if I can find a cheaper option. So that's when she begins to watch commercials relating to mobile phone plans. On the website, she looks at the different providers, compares her current providers to other providers. So that's the compare statement. Then she calls the current provider saying, hey, I'm getting a cheaper deal. Can you match that? Calls competitors to see what they can do further, and then selects the best. So along each of these, as you can see, the customer goes through a series of different emotions, which are the uppers and the downers. And at each stage along the customer journey, in this case, define, compare, negotiate, and select, that would open up certain opportunities for a phone provider. So compare, what are the opportunities? Compare alternate companies' offers for her. Break down the current plan into dollar amounts. Support the customer via text messaging or chat, live chat. So all of those things basically involve ownership on the behalf of the provider. Like, for example, the customer support team takes ownership to ensure that the average call time is no more than 2 minutes if she wants to talk to somebody. Add functionality to allow Jamie to compare plans across different sites. You can do that with the website, and the web team is in charge of that. Or the marketing team can track competing offers to create a competitor database, making it easier for the customer to select. So this is a simple customer journey map. The most important aspect of it is jumping Jane. That is the persona. The persona is kind of the model profile of your target market. The richer the persona, the more real it becomes to your people to be able to relate to. The richer the persona, the more focused your marketing campaign. The richer the persona, the more accurate your assessment of the job to be done and what could be the pain points for the customer in terms of getting this particular job done. Now the processes. How does the company integrate this notion of the job to be done across various functions? Processes, the user would seldom see the processes unless you're in some kind of a service exchange where both the producer and the consumer happen to be on the same premises at the same time as the service is being produced. But generally speaking, the processes are implicit, critical part of the unspoken culture of an organization. All right, so how do you identify the job to be done in your business? First, what are the customer's unmet needs? Okay. What exactly are you trying to substitute? Because that's what the customer will do. If he hires you to do a job, that means he's firing somebody else. Why is he firing that somebody else? What are the unmet needs, expressed and unexpressed? So to understand that, you have to ask yourself 3 questions. What are the pain points do my customers have in common? What is making it difficult? So going back to the condo example, it was just the stress and the resistance to moving. What do they currently lack? What they lacked was, in the condo case, a way by which they could take their own time in terms of sorting out their belongings, and they could take with them those objects, that furniture, which had a lot of salience for them. What challenges exist for them? Typically, if you're dealing with older people, how are they going to move the furniture? They would probably take more time than a young person getting into a new home. Buying a home is always stressful. So all of those things are the big challenge for them. And therefore, quite a few of them would still choose not to move at all, stay in their own home. Second, determine the customer's desired outcome. As a result of hiring your particular product, to do the job, but here you don't refer to your product. You complete the following phrases as though you were the customer. It helps me do what? Let's say you're talking about a vacuum cleaner. It helps me clean my carpet. Help me to avoid what? If I'm selling pet insurance, it helps me avoid huge unexpected bills. I need to what? I need to take better care of my skin, and therefore I'm going to use a particular product. So here are some examples. I need to save time in the morning. I need to take more clothes when I travel. So these would be for morning routines, an app, or a carry-on suitcase, which is expandable, whatever it may be. Okay. And sometimes it's better to just ask the customers, what is it that you expect out of hiring a particular product, hiring my product. Third step, answer key job to be done questions. What is it that the customer wants to achieve? So I may want a better smelling, cleaner toilet. What would help the customer achieve this? Okay. So what are the resources? Could be brush, it could be cleaning liquids, it could be detergents, it could be information in terms of which products are the best. What constraints keep the customer from achieving the desired outcome? Like not having the needed resources. If you're an older person, it's hard to move your belongings, or doubting their abilities. Okay. A lot of people tend to have cyberphobia. They don't think that they can operate, let's say, a laptop with much effectiveness. When in fact, some simple lessons, and that does happen, teaching older people how to use the laptops. Now suddenly their confidence grows, and then they are more willing to hire a laptop. What are the functional aspects of what they need done? Like, what will it help them do? Complete task more effectively? Like doing your taxes on the computer as opposed to doing them manually. You're doing it more efficiently, less mistakes, or avoid the task they don't want to do. I don't want to clean my lawn. I don't want to cut my own lawn. So then I hire a handyman to come and do it because that's a task I don't want to do. The next one, what are the social or emotional factors that respond to a customer's objectives? Like how do you want to feel? Yeah, so I hire somebody to cut my lawn. I go to work, come back. The lawn looks beautiful, lush green. The hedges are all trimmed, and I feel much better. So that feeling of home ownership, the joy of home ownership, certainly I'm feeling that now. And my neighbors look at my lawn and they say, wow, good job. He seems to be a very neat and tidy person. That's the way I'd like to be perceived by my neighbors. So those are the job to be done questions. Okay? And finally, you create a job to be done statement. After you've done the work in terms of steps 1, 2, and 3, you are now ready to do a job to be done statement. So usually starts out with, I want to, what is the desire, what's the motivation? So in this case, listen to my favorite songs while exercising. When is the context of the situation? While exercising. So I could listen to my favorite songs and I could have multiple different products that I could hire. But when it comes to listen to my favorite songs while exercising, now suddenly that narrows down the number of options. So that, why am I doing this? I can feel motivated and inspired. Okay? And without, that's the pain point or the constraint, without having to listen to ads or commercials or skip songs that I don't like. Right? So now suddenly there's a job to be done statement which is comprehensive in terms of trying to understand what is the job, what is the situation under which the job would be used, which job would be done, what are some of the constraints, and what is the outcome that the hirer of the job is looking for. So in terms of the products, typically the customer is going to seek a solution if they are facing some kind of a struggle. That's known as problem recognition. I suddenly look out and see my windows need cleaning. So then that would draw me to saying, hey, something I need to do about this. So either I get down and dirty and do the windows myself, or I look on different social media to see if there are any handymen available who will clean the windows. So that would be my attraction towards the product. But then there could be anxieties about the product as well. What if I hire somebody and they do a lousy job? What if I hire somebody and they damage my curtains? What if I hire somebody but they're wanting too much money for the product? So that could be a problem. And then there's habits of the present. If I lived for 5 years without cleaning my windows, then I think, okay, what's a year more? Let me wait. So the habits of the present, again, resist you from hiring a particular product to do a particular job. So just as we have the business model canvas, what we have here is the job to be done canvas. And that is going to be your assignment for next week, whereby you fill out this job to be done canvas and then just look at it. You'll be amazed as to the clarity with which you can think about your product now. So the different columns in here, the job performer, that is, what is the persona of the person? Target market that's going to be doing the job. What is it that they want to accomplish by hiring your particular product? The third one, are there any related jobs? Like, for example, when they were trying to sell pacemakers in India. I mean, a country with 1.4 billion, there's huge demand. But then they realized that in the process of buying a pacemaker for somebody, usually several families pool their resources together. So this particular brand of pacemakers, they also created a facility whereby well-wishers, relatives could actually deposit money, and they were given a certain amount of credit so that they could buy the pacemaker. So in this case, there's the related jobs to be performed. What are the related jobs that your product should perform in order for it to get hired? Okay. And then the target job, that is the key job. Yeah, like why is it that we take photographs? It is to preserve our memories. That's the target job. But then there could be related jobs, you know, showing it off to your friends and relatives, or for nostalgic purposes, whatever it may be. And then what are the steps involved in the jobs? You know, there are some beginning steps like I start looking for a condo, I start thinking about downsizing, I look at different ads, I look at what the options are. In the middle, I actually go and see certain condos, I inspect them, I ask questions regarding the construction, regarding the payments, whatever it may be. And then finally, you know, I actually move into that particular thing. So that's a simplified version of it. I will provide you with a handout that elaborates these things, which will help you in terms of completing the assignment. The emotional and social aspects. Emotional, how do I want to feel as a result of getting this job done? Okay. Somebody goes into a beauty salon. They want to feel pampered. They want to feel special. So that is the emotional aspect of it. Though the final outcome could be the same, in one case where that person is pampered, that person is, showered with a lot of attention, they're going to feel different. What are the social aspects? How do you want other people to see me, after, let's say, I've been to a beauty salon? What are the outcomes that you desire from it? And then you have job differentiators. Job differentiators basically is there could be multiple ways of doing that particular job. There could be different personas that it caters to. So what are those job differentiators? It's good to keep in mind what those are. Like I want a nutritious breakfast in the morning, as opposed to I want my lunch, but I'm a diabetic. So here there's a differentiators in there. Anyway, the handout will basically clarify these for you. So the assignment next week is to have complete job to be done canvas done. So what are the advantages of job to be done? The first one, it tells you what the true needs and desires of your target market are. So if somebody walks into a casino, a business I know well, do they come in hoping to win money? Are they coming in for excitement? Are they coming in to basically get away from some perennial problem, life situation? Are they coming in to relieve stress? What is their desired outcome for a given situation? Once you understand that and relate that to a customer persona, then you say what products can meet their needs. And then devise an experience around those products using the customer journey. Doing this particular exercise basically allows you to predict how your particular innovation, if you didn't have some innovative aspect for your product, you won't be here. So predict how your innovations will fare on the market, and having a solid understanding of the job to be done allows you to decide the proper marketing concept, the message that addresses the real needs of your customers, the real desires of your buyers. And then it allows you to prepare a business plan that is focused on customers' needs and desires. And that becomes the template, that becomes the DNA of your particular business. So that's all I had to convey. I hope this was useful. Make sure you submit your assignment in time, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.